So did you have like a mentor early on, or any books that you read that were pretty powerful for you?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. From the very beginning, I was in trading communities. So that's, communities for like-minded people who did the same as I did when I started actively trading. Not when I was 14 years old, right? Right, but when I got older and got into trading a bit more. So at some point, when I first got into trading, actually was at a party. I met a guy who is still my friend to this day, and I was only at this point I was only investing, long-term investing. But I then met this guy who was trading, and then we started speaking, and I said, I'm an investor, and he was a trader, and then he got my eyes opening to the whole trading world, right? And then I became, more. I got more and more into it. I became this trader, and then from there my passion just started, and yeah. Um, since then, just haven't looked back since, and got
And
got a
what
lot
what type of
of
advice,
challenges.
like what type of advice, specifically, what sort of things did they teach you, that you really took away from some of these, you know, really successful investors early on? Because I know for me,
Yeah,
my mentor, he taught me the power of discipline. He taught me the power of building great relationships. He taught me the power of focusing on getting results and having kind of a results mindset. So I learned some powerful things from my trainers and my mentors.
yeah,
What are some of your key takeaways that you got from some of these people early on?
yeah, yeah. So first of all, I would say there was two kind of mentors that I had. The one thing was in the trading communities, where there was people who were a lot further than I was on the journey to becoming a consistent and profitable trader. So what I learned from these guys was definitely that this is a long-term game. That was
Mm-hmm.
one thing, right? You
Mm-hmm.
cannot just go in, expect 2 months, and then you're good. It's a long-term game, and it's a lot
Right.
more to do with your mindset than what it is to do with your technical skills. Because I can teach you, as my mentor said, I can teach you the technical skills within 1 month or 2 months, but you'll not become profitable within 1 or 2 months. It might take you 5 years, it might take 6 years, and so it was really about the long-term game. Then the second part of it is I've had quote unquote mentors from books. I'm an avid reader, and I love to read books on all kind of topics. But I've read a lot about, of course, trading, investing, but especially also about the mindset that goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
So in
Mm-hmm.
this case, I would say my mentors again have taught me so many lessons from reading from these people who've call it, they've made it, right? And which mindset you gotta have in order to actually achieve success in this game. And it comes back to, I'm repeating myself a little bit, but again it comes back to that our mindsets are not made for being traders, right? Our
Right.
mindsets is made to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to survive in this game, it's about, you got to have a long-term perspective, and you got to
Right.
expect to be in this,
Right.
that it will take years before you actually become consistent and profitable. And if you have this mindset from the beginning, that actually it's not about focusing on the outcome each day, but it's about building a solid process that you are keeping discipline to, and then following that process. And if you have followed that process, at the end of the day, at the end of the month, at the end of the year, then you have then you then you are the winner. Doesn't matter if the results are plus 100 or plus 1,000 or plus 1 million. If you have followed
Right.
the process, then the results will follow afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. When I look at everything that I was able to build in my business, everything was about process. I mean, from an early age, I was
Yeah.
maybe 24 when I opened up my first office, but the first thing I did was I built a process. So I made sure I had manuals, I had books, I had tapes, I had DVDs, I had everything. Started a website, and I had everything that I could possibly, have, so I can duplicate a process. And I think that when I think of, and this is, I think what you're saying is you got to have a process. You got to build something so that way it can ultimately be duplicated. And I think this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this might be a reason why you decided to start your company, because you figured out that some of these patterns were very predictable. And because they were predictable, you said, well, wait a minute, maybe I can just duplicate this again and again and again and again. And maybe we could get very similar results again and again and again and again. Let's try it. So where did that begin when you said, all right, I'm going automated, man. I'm going to build an automated trading process and system so I can not only become profitable for myself with doing less work, maybe, because there's less, I mean, obviously if things are automated, there's less looking at charts, there's less, having to, it becomes more passive versus, in the game every single minute, like a lot of traders are. Tell me a little bit about how that all began and how'd you start, that process of building your own first company?
As many good things start this way, it is also started the same way for me. Like, I made all the mistakes I could with manual trading, right? I was over trading, I was risking too much, and in the beginning I made all the mistakes, right? At the same time, because I was so passionate about it, I was so dedicated, I also spent a lot of time in front of the screens every day, right? Every single day, so much time that sometimes I felt exhausted, right? Obviously, even though that I got my sleep, ate well, did exercise, I spent so much time that I sometimes felt exhausted. So at some point, me and a good friend of mine, we started digging into, you know, isn't there some way that this can be done better, right?
Right.
And actually, before I started manual trading, I have already got familiar with automated trading systems. I saw something on YouTube and I thought this was good, and I've invested it in. So I've already had some kind of knowledge about it, but didn't pursue it any further at that time, because then I went to manual trading and thought that was
Right.
the thing
Right.
to do, right? But then my friend and myself started to dig more into automated trading and found out, wow, if we can actually create something where we can trade, like quote unquote trade, right? Because the system does it for us in the background. But if we can create something where we at the same time can have time for our families, can have time for our friends, time for our girlfriends, time to go to on holidays, and at the same time something in the background will trade for us, wouldn't that be amazing? And that's when we figured out, wow. And first of all, we thought it was kind of sounded like silly and impossible, right? But
Right.
then we started to dig more into it, and then we started, okay, getting more and more knowledge, educate ourselves. We got into some other places with other people, who had some knowledge about this, some really, really cool guys. They taught us something, and then from there, it just all of a sudden our knowledge exploded. We started to trade automated systems. We started to build them ourselves, and then all of a sudden we figured out that we have actually found a solution to our problems. I think it's a situation a lot of people have been in. Also, your audience, they are entrepreneurs, they are business people, they are busy people. They want to be
Right.
with family at the same time. They want to go on holiday, but
Absolutely.
so they don't have time. Don't have time to trading. They don't have time to sit there many hours per day. They just want to live their life and have the good life, right? So that's what we created for ourselves, and then all of a sudden, long story short, is that we created something really, really good. We traded it live on our own accounts. It went really well. We, you know, did a lot of testing. It was stable. And some people, with a lot of knowledge in the industry said to us, guys, you have something going on that you probably should consider creating a company out of this, right? And they thought, oh, well, if other people can actually benefit in the same way as us, getting more time back in their lives, getting more time back for their families, for friends, for holidays, for relaxing, then why shouldn't other people also get that opportunity, right? And then that's what how and when we set up the company and said, okay, we want to offer this to other people as well, so they can get that same benefit as we experienced.
And so walk me through some of the numbers. Walk me through some of your, your testing and because I know this is, you guys have been testing for years and years and years. You guys have just gobs of data that you've been testing for so many years. Tell me
Yeah.
about why would somebody trust? Like, so for example, if somebody were to, and like I said before, I'm not recommending that anybody does this, but if somebody were to do it, why would they trust you and why would they trust your company to do something like this? And what type of hard data, what type of proof, what type of background testing do you guys have?
Yeah, it's a good question and very, very fair question. And of course, as you say, it's trading, it is investing, it involves risk. So of course we got to say that. But to answer your question directly, we have spent thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of back testing. And for people who might not be familiar with that word, it means that you have a strategy, and then when you backtest that strategy, it means that you go back to the charts and you look at this strategy back in time and see how it performed over years, right? In this case, we have